Why do a SPAC rather than the traditional IPO?
Well, I think you and I have chatted about this in the past. I've never had that glory and that vision of being a public company in my mind. And so a couple of things triggered for me is like, one, we're at a point in time where the platform is really ready to take off, like just explode in terms of what we can do on the consumer side as well as on the therapeutic side. And what I've learned, like over the last decade, one of the most important pieces of advice that I've ever gotten and that I continuously give out is who your investors are matters. And so when we thought about how we want to raise capital and whether we want to do an IPO or a SPAC, the idea of partnering with Richard and the Virgin team was just absolutely the slam dunk. And part of it is like the number one core value. The first core value we have is think big. And what we think about with Richard, like think about how big he thinks.
So, Richard, let's talk about that big thinking. Tell us how the deal came together on your end and how personally involved you were.
Well, I've known Anne for many a year and found her delightful and invested in her company right at the beginning and saw the wonderful team that she'd got around her and the great company that she built and the great brand that she built. I even discovered that I had a great grandmother who was Indian, and that was an absolute delight. And every time I go out in the sun, I don't feel I have to wear as much sun cream as most people, but it's only a small fraction. But anyway, just really impressed with Anne, really impressed with the team, really impressed with what has been achieved, but much more importantly, what can be achieved.
So, Anne, the DNA testing part of the business has been slowing down, but all of that genetic data is so valuable. You're using that for drug development and doubling down there. You've got this new COVID severity test out, which will tell you how vulnerable you are to a severe case of COVID. But hopefully COVID is short-lived. So what do you see as the biggest drivers of long-term growth?
So when the human genome was first sequenced in 2003, Francis Collins came out and said the potential of human genetics is to really revolutionize the prevention, the diagnosis, and the treatment of most, if not all, human disease. And we're really just scratching the surface of that potential. So I absolutely believe one day everyone is going to have their sequence. Everyone's going to be genotyped, and you're going to have a different type of healthcare system that helps people understand their fundamental risks, and then you can help manage to prevent those things that are potentially preventable. So I think secondly, we really think about then on the therapeutic side, the ability for us to really pull through all of this data, all of these insights that we have, and make treatments that are founded in genetic discoveries. So I'm super excited about the potential both on the consumer side as well as on the therapeutic side.
Richard, I'm looking at some SPAC statistics. A Stanford NYU study found that the 2019-2020 cohort of SPACs reaped 32% for the sponsor, folks like yourself, but post-merger investors lost almost 35%. Is this really a good deal for the public, this whole SPAC trend?
Look, I'd never heard of the word SPAC until I was approached to take Virgin Galactic public through a SPAC. And initially, I was very skeptical. And then I learned about it, and it just seemed to cut through a lot of red tape and get us onto the market and in front of a lot of institutional investors and other investors, and it works really well. And I think good SPACs, good quality companies will work extraordinarily well by going to the market as a SPAC. And I think 23andMe is such a company, and I think it'll be very, very well received. So, and
this deal values the company at $3.5 billion. What do you see as the biggest lines of business? Is it not the DNA testing kits? Is it something else? Is it telehealth or 23andMe helping customers take care of themselves?
I think it's two of those opportunities. One is it's all about the customer. and helping our customers benefit from the human genome and really be able to go on a path that's going to help them prevent or better manage a disease if they have it. So one, I think that we already have 10 million customers now. There's absolutely an opportunity to do more with those existing customers and then continue to grow. And like I said, I really believe that this is a universal product. It's something that everybody should have. Second, the therapeutic side really has taken off. And having this additional capital is going to allow us to do more. And that's one thing I think about as well. The ability for our customers to benefit from the human genome by actually having a treatment that has come from a genetic foundation will really ultimately benefit our customers.
You developed a drug in-house that last year that you've now licensed. You've got this partnership with GlaxoSmithKline. What diseases are you most optimistic about potentially curing or treating with the data that you have?
I think there's the thing that's overwhelming about 23andMe is the amount of opportunity. So we have, like I said, over 10 million customers. We routinely do analysis on over 1,000 different phenotypes. So there's just a huge amount of research that is undergoing on a regular basis. Our first program is an immuno-oncology program that is partnered with GSK. I'm really excited about that and the potential. But to be honest, I'm really excited across like the whole spectrum of different conditions and how we're going to be able to have an impact.
Richard, any plans to raise more SPACs or get more personally involved?
It's possible. I mean, we, through getting out there and talking to a lot of companies, there are a lot of very interesting companies that are still private that would like to go to the market, but we haven't decided whether to invest in them through SPACs or invest in them directly or invest in them in a little bit of both. So we're definitely open to the idea, and I'm sure that our team will explore it. And if we can find people like 23andMe that are really doing some positive good in the world, then it's likely that we'll we'll get out and invest in them in some form or another.
You worked with Chamath Palihapitiya on the Virgin deal. Did you see his SPAC king persona coming? I mean, people are calling him SPAC Jesus. I'm not sure whether Jesus would be the right word, but he may be flattered by that. I don't know. Look, he's an extraordinary individual. He's done extraordinary things, and good on him. I mean, he's managed to bring a number of different companies to the market, and done some extraordinary things in his lifetime. And he's still, as far as I'm concerned, he's still a very young man. So he's got lots to achieve. So last quick, and where is 23andMe then? Let's say 2 years from now.
2 years is still pretty short in the vision. We think about, like when I started the company, we had this vision of empowering customers, developing a new way of doing research, and then having all this information go back to our customers through, consumer products as well as therapeutics. So in 2 years, I think that you'll see us make some pretty significant advances on the consumer experience. And, you'll see progress, obviously, on the therapeutics side. But, again, like this is, it's a long-term vision, and how, like, we're fundamentally building a new type of system. So, like, what I think about is, 5 years, 10 years out, like a world that my children are going to live in that really is just going to be entirely different. And I think that the end goal for me is, how do you actually make our customers healthy at 100? So, healthy,
all right,
and prevent what you can, and then change what you can't.